Hello, hello, everybody. This is Snitch Racer here, and welcome to Snitch Racer's Dungeon, a podcast I am starting today. My first attempt at a podcast, uh, basically just themed around different subjects I have on the internet, or that I find rather on the internet, maybe in the news, all stuff like that. Usually fueled by my need to rant about stuff and things like that. I'd like to inject some humor into it though, so we're not just rambling on and just having all negativity. But I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and again, thank you, and welcome. So for today's first subject, we will be talking about the adult content ID situation that's going on in the United States. It looks like about 6 states now are starting to require you to actually show your digital ID to access any type of adult content whatsoever. This apparently includes any website that's up to like a certain percentage uh, adult content. So that actually can include websites like Tumblr and Twitter, for example, which actually, side note, Twitter's in the process, it seems like, to actually get rid of porn off their app slash website. And I think this has to do with it because they don't want to have to make people get IDs. They need those minors to make aggressive, angry posts about nothing. Excuse me. So for for a little bit of context here, the first person to actually start this porn ID situation was a woman. Let me see her name here. Lori Schmeigel or Schlagel. I'm probably mispronouncing that. She's a representative for the Republican Party. She's a self proclaimed sex addiction therapist uh, who is a representative, sorry, in Louisiana. Again, this was the first state where this ID was this law that requires you to have ID was first put into place. That being in June 2022. It became official as a law in January 1st of whatchamacallit, of 2023. Sorry. Obviously, I still am a bit new to all of this, but I will try to get out as much factual information here as possible as I look at my notes here. Uh, so, a quote from Lori Schlegel here. Uh, I want to read a quote from her right here as to a reason why she thinks that pornography should be flat out, like, why she wants an ID required online for it. So, quote, pornography is creating a public health crisis and having a corroding influence on minors, unquote. Again, that's according to Lordy Schlegel. So they're actually declaring minors going onto adult content as a public health crisis, uh, which is funny because they don't really tend to declare anything a public health crisis that actually matters, like the homelessness and everything like that that happens to be a problem in the United States. This woman actually teamed up with a Democrat named or correct me if I'm wrong, she might not be a Democrat, but she is a self-proclaimed feminist. Her name is Gail Dines. Uh, she teamed up with Lori because she believes that the two of them essentially can team up together and lobby the Senate and everything. Or forgive me if I'm wrong about the process here, but she wants to get the law in place, and Gail Dines is an expert apparently. A quote from Gail Dines, by the way, is this: "Men who are not deviants, they are conformists." End quote. So basically, what she's trying to say is that men don't have control over themselves, which is fucked up, if you ask me. She's literally trying to like almost victim blame. That might be pushing it a little far, but I don't know. To me, it sounds like victim blame a little bit there. So the funny thing is that a side note, Lori is super against abortion and Gail Dines is super for it. So it's just a little suspicious for them to, suddenly be teaming up like that. Like it's. I think I just lost my hearing there from that noise. It's sus. That's all I'm going to say. So Louisiana was just the first. Now, in addition to Louisiana, we got Arkansas, Montana, Mississippi, Utah, Virginia, and Texas. So actually seven. That's my mistake. We're up to seven now. And side note on Utah, I was just reading that apparently this is according to someone who works inside the Senate or inside the whatever political building there is in Utah. Again, I'm not American, but the, apparently the representatives were straight up high fiving each other after when they like passed the law, like a bunch of frat boys or something. So that is very weird. Also, one thing I want to note as well that's very strange about this entire thing and what gets me completely suspicious is the fact that both the Democrats and Republicans actually fully agree on this issue. It might literally be the only issue in the entire country that they seem to agree on, which doesn't make any sense to me. They don't want to agree on anything. So, oh yeah, and another thing is the reason that they actually made it, or sorry, we'll move on back to Louisiana here. More details on Louisiana itself. From what I see here, what actually started the Miss Lori Schlagel, her desire to get this ID thing into place was from an actual clip on the Howard Stern show where Billie Eilish appeared on, and she saw her quote, excuse me, and decided to act on it, and let me just read the quote from Billie Eilish here. Quote, I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I started watching when I was like 11. I think it really destroyed my brain, and I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn. End quote. And that is a very valid opinion, by the way, and a very valid feeling, or it's very valid for her to feel that way. There just can't be any like she is right. Obviously, she's just telling how she feels, but like she is right in the fact that there is no way that minors watching adult content isn't going to negatively affect them in certain cases. I just can't see that being a possibility. So, Laura Schmeigel, I think, does have good intentions, or Schlegel. I'm going to mispronounce that a trillion times throughout the post there, throughout the podcast there. Uh, the thing is that yeah, like I was saying, I'm almost certain that Lori does have good intentions based on the fact that she saw this quote, or saw this clip online of Billie Eilish saying that. So she does have good intentions. I just don't really like the way they're going about it because of the fact that you have to show your personal identification online. On the subject of Louisiana, the reason that it was so easy for them to pass that law is because they actually have legally binding digital ID that you can use to ID yourself online in Louisiana. The state has, again, legally binding ID that's completely digital, which is what made this quite easy to achieve and put in place, according to the internet. But one thing, excuse me, the problem I have with this, obviously, is the fact that your ID is going to be put online. Legally, these companies aren't allowed to take that information and sell it to third parties. But like everybody and their grandma knows, since when does something being illegal stop any of these companies from actually, not stealing your information? So I do not trust whatsoever that these companies aren't taking your personal information. Problem again with this is that you're showing your full on ID, so it's super personal information that might have like your street address on it, and then they can sell it to third party companies and sell you all kinds of stuff, which kind of takes away your entire right to privacy, in my humble opinion, because these these like from what I understand, this kind of violates the Fourth Amendment right for the United States of America completely. Because let me see here, I have the Fourth Amendment completely like written out here word for word. I'm gonna read it to you and let you guys decide if this new law actually violates your right to privacy. Because personally, I do. But the Fourth Amendment right is as follows: the right of the people to be secure in their position, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches, seizures, shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And that's the end of that. See, so the problem with that is it's a bit of a gray area, as you can tell, because from what I understand, you shouldn't have to show your own personal information within your own home at any time. But it also kind of mentions the fact that there's exceptions to that. Uh, there's exceptions to that, basically. But from what I understand, you shouldn't have to show your own personal information in your own home if you don't want to. And that's straight up what you're doing, because like they're straight up showing you that adult content, or you're sorry, I lost my train of thought there. They're straight up showing you what? Yeah, oh yeah, that's right, that's right. Sorry. So they're straight up taking like your privacy away, in my opinion, because again, there's no way that these companies are going to steal that private information. It's information that the government should only see. And even then, the government, yeah, obviously it's not a concern that the government's seeing that information. Like a lot of people I've seen online saying, like, literally, they're like, they just want to pass this law so you can show your ID online so the government can know what you are and where you are and all that stuff. They already know that, dude. They already know that. Like the government, you shouldn't be concerned about your own government getting more information on you because they already have all the information on the world in the world on you, more than you probably think, honestly. So the main concern is is the adult industry getting that information and potentially actually making the problem worse. Because think about it. Let's say there's a let's say I ID myself and like I like a certain depraved category of adult content, and then the porn company actually knows that somehow, because of the fact that they know my information through my personal account, through my personal ID. They could, in theory, take that information, then start advertising you that terrible category you don't want to watch, but you are like terribly into. Like, say you're like ashamed of a certain category and you're trying to get away from it. I can see porn companies straight up advertising you that disgusting stuff that you don't want to see, and then you get addicted, and then they're advertising you, making you even more addicted to porn. So, my humble opinion, that's all this really like. That's just one of the many negatives of this situation. That being that it's going to completely backfire potentially, where the extra information will just make it easier for you to get advertised to. And then you're going to be sitting around all the time just you know, you just don't want to you don't want to be doing that all the time. By the way, Texas is the newest one to join. Uh, when they to join in on this, and apparently when they did that, Pornhub actually blocked the website statewide, which is something that they've done with Utah and Mississippi already. So they are in the process of banning those websites. So at least, or Pornhub themselves are in the process of banning in protest. So at least in a theory, we know that Pornhub is kind of on the same side. They're probably not going to take your information. It seems, because why would they be against it? There's other porn websites though that I've straight up seen like endorse it, which is a little bit concerning and just a little bit sus. So now the one thing I want to mention too, last thing about Louisiana on the subject of just porn websites online is since the porn ID was put in place in Louisiana in the last year, porn traffic has gone down by 80%. And guess what? There isn't 80% people less. There isn't 80% less people watching it. There isn't. You know what those 80% people are doing? Using a bloody VPN. And guess what? I'm almost certain that most minors know how to do that too. So so in my humble opinion, like just simply showing your personal identification online, if like because of the fact that these are only statewide, all you have to do is just be in a different country virtually, something that's extremely easy to do and extremely accessible. Anybody can do it, including anyone who's underage. So what I'm trying to say is basically all anyone's gonna all it's gonna do is make a porn slightly more inconvenient to watch for everybody. I don't even think it's gonna stop any minor from watching it at all. Because let's be real, most people under 18 know more about computers than anyone over 18. Every generation that comes up is more into computers than the next. So this generation of young people making them show ID online is literally going to do nothing, in my opinion. Not a thing. Prime example is the fact that porn traffic dropped 80% in Louisiana, meaning everybody's just using a VPN and the thing's not working. Because obviously, 80% of people watching porn in Louisiana can't all be minors. Those are probably mostly not. Let's be real. So I really just don't want. I just really don't see this as a as something that's gonna stop anything. It's just a weird way, in my opinion, to have control over the people. I don't think Lori wanted that. I think that's the reason, though, that it was so easy to pass because there's been all kinds of laws, like any type of gay rights laws, any type of anti-discrimination laws. Those take many years, decades to go through, where go through the process of actually making it official because people in the actual the inner workings of the actual American political system will always fight it on either side constantly for the fact, like I said, it'll take freaking years, but for some reason when it comes to porn, it just went like that. So to me, that is super suspicious considering that there's so many more issues that people have brought up directly and they just ignore. They seem to be doing this one no problem. And I actually think it's because it's just this is, I'm going to say, conspiracy warning here. This is kind of just a conspiracy I have here. But all I want to say is that I'm almost certain that this is just the beginning of the government. I know this is going to sound a little hypocritical from what I said earlier, by the way, but I generally think this is a way for the government to have a more regular way of seeing what you're up to online. This is just the end. I think what they're trying to do is get you used to putting your personal information online. Right now, it starts with information they already have about you, but next it starts with the government then monitoring everything you do. That's what I think. That's what I genuinely think. I know that sounds probably crazy to people, but you know what? You know what, American government? I'm sick of it. You know what?
Get your hand off my penis!
God damn it. Get your hands off my penis. It's mine. Now, and then, oh yeah, on the subject of freedom and stuff, that's why it makes you suspicious because the conservatives are all about this. They're very much about this, and the Democrats, both parties are. The reason that it's suspicious the conservatives because they're always about freedom and less government and all that stuff. But this is more government, man. That's why I think it's just bullcrap. Again, just a way to control people. It starts with this, and then you need you need to put your personal information. Take a maybe next that you're like, you need to take a screenshot of your real face to log into YouTube if you ever want to use it to make sure we're not being hacked or something. It really I could go and on about that, but I won't for the time being. I have a couple of points I want to bring up here at the end of this subject before I start rambling on about stuff that doesn't even matter. Now, my biggest issue, two things actually I want to finish up here. The point where Billie Eilish kind of just in passing mentioned that she went through this and it was bad. Again, great point by her, very valid, and I'm glad she brought it up. But my problem with the fact that like my problem here is that actually they or the fact that like, how fast they actually went into solving this problem. It was only like 2 3 years later and they were doing something about it, and it wasn't even something that Billie Eilish specifically said was a problem for everybody. For example, Billie Eilish herself went with Peter Gabriel, Sheryl Crow, and a bunch of other musicians and celebrities calling for the Senate to actually do something about all the mass shootings that are happening in the United States, and they straight up just dismissed them and said, "Nah, like I don't get it." And they didn't say this is a health crisis, by the way. Thousands of people dying a month from mass shootings isn't a health crisis, but porn is. Like, what? Are you serious? That is fucked, dude. That is completely fucked. And like they've been calling for years. Like Billie Eilish, if she has the power to change a law about porn, in my opinion, she should have the bloody fucking power to change a law or at least get the gun laws addressed in any way or form. But guess what? They just ignore her because also guess what? The gun companies. That's why I don't even care if you're on either side of the debate. You want guns to be all over the place. You want them to be shooting everybody, whatever. I don't care if you're against guns or for guns. I feel like you have to be a freaking moron to not realize that the reason that there's no change in the guns laws is because of the fact that gun companies have too much power. That is And that's the reason why a law like that doesn't get passed, and why a reason like the porn law gets passed so easily, because the adult industry has zero power over politics. And this is just a prime example of how broken the political system is, because in my humble opinion, like I said, this will quite literally do nothing. I mean nothing to stop minors from looking at adult content. Absolutely nothing. And you know what will? Actually making parents watch their fucking kids. That's what I think. Because I don't know about you, but when I was like 11 years old, the only computer in the house was a computer in the living room that my mom could see anytime she was home, which would be until I was 12. I wasn't allowed to be home by myself anyways alone. So the only way I could ever watch porn at that age is if I somehow snuck it in while my mom was like in bed or something. It's so much more difficult. And that was my mom didn't even realize you could, access porn so easily even then. So she just didn't think that was a possibility. Now, fast forward to modern times where every parent by now must freaking know that their kid can access literally anything if you don't put any parental blocks. So like from what I understand, in modern times, kids are straight up just getting iPads or phones at ages young of 10 with full access to the internet, and their parents aren't even monitoring them, which is so fucked. And somehow they have to make laws pass to get minors to not watch porn. I don't know. Maybe parent your freaking children. I don't know. That's like literally all you have to do is watch what your kid's doing. You can put a parental block. There's all kinds of parental blocks you could put in. I know because my parents did that before when I was a kid for stuff like that. You can put a parental block. And like it just comes to my opinion these days, and this isn't every parent because I do actually know parents of kids that straight up won't let their kids have a phone till they're 16. I think that's great, but that's a whole side note. This isn't every parent. I'm generalizing here, obviously, but the modern parent isn't actually doing enough to monitor their kid at all. There's so many actual like 12-year-olds on even Twitter and shit just scrolling through, and there's porn all over that, dude. And somehow they'll always blame the porn industry. It's not the porn industry's fault that parents don't know how to, take care of their kids. Like, like just overall, kids shouldn't be unsupervised on the internet, and this is a huge example of that. So, my opinion, the solution to this is to actually educate parents maybe on, the dangers of letting your kids just have open internet, because I just strongly believe that no parent really understands that. I feel like if we educate the parents make sure they know how to set up parental blocks, we wouldn't even have this problem to begin with. But instead, we do. Now, so again, my solution, man, is to straight up. My solution again, though, is just, yeah, like I said, maybe even, maybe, this is a side note. This isn't my idea, by the way. Idea. I saw this as an idea online by someone else. Maybe make it a part of sex education. I don't know. Like, maybe teach the kids that watching porn too young is gonna fuck you up, because they didn't teach that to me when I was a kid either. But what they did teach to us is not to do drugs, and I used to be scared of drugs like cocaine because of that. They actually successfully made me not do drugs like that at a young age. That is. So I just don't understand why they can't do the same with porn. That's my solution. Uh, and all right, moving on to our next subject here.
Let's get right into the news.
Let's get right into the racism with Keemstar. So the reason I bring up Keemstar today actually is because he came back into my radar. Sorry, for two reasons. The first, I saw that he was defending. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the name because I didn't know who he was before this. Oh, Neon, right? He was defending a man named Neon, which is just some loser who streams on Kick. That seems to be where all the losers go. Let's be real. But I what was it? What was his name again? I already lost it. Oh, Neon. So Neon like had this beef with a literal 12-year-old where he said some outlandish stuff. Obviously, he wasn't like serious, but the stuff was fucked up, and Kick suspended him, quote unquote, for it. He's already back. Let's be real. Kick doesn't do that. But the reason Keemstar came back onto my radar is because straight up he was defending him, saying like, "You didn't do anything wrong, man." I'm like, what? Like, Keemstar will literally he'll defend a pile of shit on the floor if it'll get him views. That's for sure. The second the second thing that brought him back onto my radar is he was bragging about making a Twitch streamer named Keffels get addicted to meth. This is just a claim by Keffels, by the way. I'm take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, Keffels could just make that up and say it's Keemstar's fault, but let's say, for example, let's just play and say it is real because that's what Keemstar thinks. Keemstar thinks that really did happen, and guess what? He literally quote tweeted a tweet about it saying he thinks that's hilarious and he sees nothing wrong with that. And actually, people pointed out how he's a piece of shit for it. And he's just like, "How, man? It's just funny. I ruined someone's life. That's fucking hilarious." But this is just the beginning of this. We'll talk about Keffels a little bit more later in this subject here. Overall, obviously everyone knows that Keemstar is a horrible, horrible, horrible person. I actually just don't think that people realize how horrible of a person is. I think people just think he's a fucking asshole. No, I think he's straight up a sociopath, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. There's a YouTuber out there that put me onto him. That put me onto the word sociopath. I'll be honest. That is just the word to describe it because it's true. It's not a diss. I'm not making fun of him here. I'm stating facts. He's a terrible person and a sociopath. To me, he is the TMZ of the internet, which, again, TMZ doesn't give two flying fucks about who they hurt whatsoever. They're just there to get views no matter what. That's why Keemstar is exactly like that. So, first of all, I don't know why. I just want to say, side note, Keemstar is obsessed with transgender people to the point where I actually see him talking about transgender people more than anyone who's transgender that I've ever seen. Like, he is obsessed with it. He will not stop talking about that because, like, I don't know. There's something going on there. So, the first example I want to bring up sorry, we're going to go into his past a bit to remind you why he's such a piece of crap and to remind anyone watching or to tell anyone watching who isn't that aware of Keemstar my many reasons why he's a complete loser and a sociopath. There's actually so many reasons that I couldn't even go into all of them, or else this podcast would be like 3 goddamn hours long, and I don't want it to be. First of all, though, the thing that I first saw about him, sorry about scratching my face there, but the first thing that I ever saw about him was his name. You know what? I'm not even gonna mention the streamer's name because this streamer has since passed away. Unfortunately, he did pass away from cancer a few years ago. I can't remember the specific year, but we'll choose not to mention his name out of a form of respect. So for so what happened is let's say there's this pedophile named Steve. We're calling him Steve. So Steve apparently, not even apparently, this actually happened and he was proven to do this. So Steve unfortunately was having a disgusting intimate relationship with a teenage girl, completely underage, completely fucked. He was arrested and put into jail, thank God, and registered as a sex offender. So once Keemstar saw this, he straight up saw that there was a RuneScape player who was an old man who was arrested for being a pedophile, rightfully. Uh, he Keemstar literally just simply saw that information, then noticed there was a different old guy who doesn't even look the same, a different old guy streaming RuneScape on his own, who's just an old man streaming RuneScape. He saw just a random old guy streaming on RuneScape and just like, you know what? This has to be the same guy, obviously. Only one old man can stream RuneScape at the same time. But Keemstar saw that, proceeded to tell his entire audience that this man's probably a pedophile based on absolutely nothing. Side note, guess what? The person that Steve, the pedophile I mentioned earlier, is still in jail to this day, by the way. He never got released. What Keemstar thought is that the guy got released and is now playing RuneScape. So he started harassing him in a video online, which led to people harassing this poor man in his actual stream. They started spamming pedophile, telling him to off himself, all the terrible stuff that people do, to the point where this poor man started crying on stream, just begging people to stop, which that to me is insane. And anyone who fucking harassed someone because Keemstar claims something, you're a moron, by the way. Like, you have to be brain dead to do that. So on not only that, he Keemstar did eventually apologize, say sorry. He actually even promised. Oh, one thing, another thing he even did was just straight up try to not take responsibility for it. Saying like, yeah, I gave out that false information, but it's not my fault they went and harassed uh, a poor old man. Well, guess what, buddy? It literally is your fault. It's entirely your fault. You're the reason that happened. So Keemstar did apologize. On top of that, he even said he was gonna straight up go to that guy's city and make content with him. That never happened. Not sure why. Not gonna say anything bad about that. But unfortunately, that old man did eventually pass away from cancer. Then 4 years after Oh yeah, this man has passed away from cancer since. And actually, before that happened, only a year before this happened, before that man passed away, Keemstar doubled back down 4 years after the original incident. He doubled down on this accusation because people started harassing that man on his Twitch account again. So Keemstar, the genius that he is, just straight up said, "Oh, I guess it must be true. He must be a pedophile because people are saying that. That's how the internet works." Oh my god. Oh my god. That's obviously how that works. So that's just the beginning. That's what actually made me hate him originally. I just thought maybe he's just a freaking moron. No, I think he's a sociopath and he knew what he was doing. Two or one more example, or a few more examples. We all know about the unfortunate incident with Etika, and I want to preface this with saying that I do not think it is Keemstar's fault, and I don't think anyone should claim that. We need to let Etika rest. And trying to claim that or trying to blame someone for his death is terrible. Uh, but that's not what I'm here to do. I don't think Etika passed away because of Keemstar. What I do think, though, is that Keemstar is such a sociopath that he does not give a flying fuck what he says to people, even in times of crisis. Because Etika actually called into his channel. I don't know if it was a podcast or his actual real channel or not, but he did call in Etika to talk to Keemstar, and he was just talking about how he thinks that everything's a simulation. Very unfortunately sad stuff to hear for someone going through mental health because that's the kind of paranoia that you don't like hearing. But we know what most people would do. try to get that guy to seek help, maybe not try to, play into it, all that stuff. You know what Keemstar did? He literally said, quote unquote, you know what? Right? This isn't a direct quote. This is a summary of what he said. What he said, though, is literally like, hey, man, if it's not real, just fucking kill yourself then. Obviously. What the fuck? Why would you say that to anybody? That's so fucked.
Big words.
That's fucking big words to say, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude? Absolutely incredible levels of inconsideration. Like, and it's not the first time where he just straight up flippantly says terrible crap to people going through a mental health crisis. There's another example is FuziTube. I'm not endorsing him in any way. I think he makes really stupid prank videos that are harmful to society, but I still don't think you should harass someone's mental health, because I'm sure most people remember who are aware of FuziTube. He was going through a manic episode about 5 years ago, and Keemstar did a 3-part documentary essentially harassing him over it and even dismissing his mental health problems completely. Like the total piece of crap he is. He's a sociopath. So he always that was just another example. Actually, FuziTube famously or infamously directly said to Keemstar's face that you, Keemstar, made me want to kill myself. And then Keemstar was just like, haha, that's kind of funny, basically. I'm not even kidding. He just kind of laughs it off and was like, ah, okay. So that's why I think he's a sociopath, because he literally feels no feeling when someone tells me that you're the reason that I wanted to kill myself. Even if Keemstar said that to me, someone I hate, I fucking hate Keemstar with every passion. If for some reason this video made me, like, if something I said made him want to kill himself, guess what? I'd still feel fucking terrible. I don't care. There's very few people I wouldn't feel terrible about, but Keemstar doesn't because he's a freaking sociopath. Another example of this is a man named Total Biscuit tweeted him this exact quote, just saying, Keemstar will never be news, which obviously is inflammatory uh, to begin with. I'm not going to claim like that's an innocent thing to say, but here, I'll play you just a bit of what he said. He went on this like, Keemstar had a fucking mental breakdown over this. He can't even handle one tiny criticism. And he had an entire mental breakdown that ended with him saying this to Total Biscuit here.
Can't wait to report your death. Like, seriously, what's wrong with you, asshole?
Yeah, what's wrong with that guy, not you? What's wrong with Total Biscuit? He's the asshole here. And guess what? You know why he's saying, haha, can't report your death, like not Crash, like, I can't think of the fucking PS1 character I'm thinking of here, but the reason he said that is because, unfortunately, Total Biscuit was dying of cancer at the time. So, he was literally he was quite literally saying, I can't wait until you die so I can report it. What a fucking sociopath. And again, people will claim that this is nothing. That's my issue. And this is just one example of the many racist rants that he has, anti-SJW stuff. Like, he has this weird obsession where he's like afraid of the woke boogeyman that's always out to get you. Like, literally, if there's a woman protagonist in a video game or a movie, even though that's something that's existed since the beginning of time, if there's a female protagonist in a movie, you'll bet your ass you'll be making 17 videos about it. It's now Snapchat. On top of that, he's a freaking gnome. He's a garden gnome with a garden gnome beard, garden gnome looking ass. Should be sitting in a garden sniffing fucking dog shit instead of sitting here dissing people online. Just in. Holy shit. It seems like Keemstar is here. He has something to say.
I hope somebody gets his IP, doxes him, swats him, fucks his mother in front of his face.
Whoa!
Like, I literally hope that his fucking house blows up and everybody in his family tree dies and he can't reproduce. Fuck that kid. I wish the absolute worst for him. I hope he catches cancer. I hope he dies in a fire. I hope his house literally just...
Okay, I need to cut him off there. Keemstar calling in just to hope that I have cancer. What a fucker, eh? But in all seriousness, though, that's another rant, by the way, just because I think a fan criticized him or something. Like, goddamn, Keemstar. Oh my god. And you know what? Fuck you, Keemstar. Oh shit, what is he's got something else to say.
Suck a fucking cock, faggot. I
Whoa!
hope somebody gets his
Big words.
Whoa, dude. Big words, dude. Calm down. Jesus. By the way, he said that only like 10 years ago. Side note, the quartering is somehow worse. There's a YouTuber or whatever the fuck he is, piece of shit called the quartering. Side note, the quartering is such a homophobic piece of crap that even Keemstar called him out for it. Side note, I find that hilarious, Keemstar. So obviously, I don't really need to go into why he's a piece of crap more here. What I want to get into about that is, well, since in recent years, the one great thing is that his show, Drama Alert, Keemstar's show, is straight up gone dormant on YouTube because people are aware of his piece of crap behavior. People don't want to watch anymore. But guess what? He's actually moved over to Snapchat now, where he makes Snapchat like stories or something. I don't know. I don't use Snapchat that much anymore for other than just messaging my friends directly with it. But he makes a bunch of Snapchat content that you can follow. My problem with that is not only is most people on Snapchat way younger and way more vulnerable to being manipulated by him, not only are they just younger, sorry, not only is them being younger make them more easy to be manipulated, but because it's over on Snapchat and not YouTube, there is no like Snapchat video essays on Keemstar on why he's bad. So there's probably an entire generation and even group of people on Snapchat that don't even know who Keemstar is and that he's a sociopath. Again, my issue with that is he can totally just get a new piece of shit audience and just start the freaking bullcrap he has again. I just don't want that. I straight up think that I straight up wish I could start a campaign to get him off the internet. And yeah, like I cannot take this anymore. I don't like how he has a platform. I honestly think that he is much worse than people like even Andrew Tate in a way. I think he's kind of worse than Andrew Tate, even though he's terrible too. But the problem with that is that Andrew Tate is very well known to be terrible uh, in every platform. People just know everywhere. Everyone knows who Andrew Tate is. My grandma literally does. No one knows who Keemstar is that doesn't go on YouTube for the most part. For the most part, people only know of you Keemstar through the YouTube community. That my proof of that is also because his Twitter account is still very popular and has people quote tweeting it and liking it who don't even know who he is all the time. And I think that there is a danger of him starting that next generation of people, which is going to get more people harassed for simply existing, like Keffels here. So, the last part I want to go on here with Keffels is that they were one of Keemstar's latest victims. He like harassed the crap out of her for simply being transgender. That's it. I literally try to look up any information. Like other than that, nope. He just doesn't like transgender people. Uh, Bringing up Keffels because Keffels unfortunately has been the victim of harassment by fully grown men who don't like transgender people for years. Keemstar is not the first. He is just a part of a terrible community and he encourages it. Unfortunately, Keffels was swatted successfully once and not a second time. The first time they called the Toronto police, which is about 2 hours away from London, Ontario, the town that Keffels does live in and is from, or did live in. She's from London, Ontario, also the town that I live in and the town that I live in and the town that I'm recording this podcast from. Now, that is why I care so much because once people in my own city start getting harassed, I start to take that personally, motherfucker. Now, Keffels, like I was saying, got successfully swatted through the London police, where they came in guns blazing, arrested her, weren't very nice to her at all kinds of stuff I won't get into that they weren't nice to her about. But my point is that Oh, and London, Ontario itself, the London police doesn't even have a system in place for stuff like this. So she easily could have died, man. Straight up because of fucking Keemstar, like people. People like Keemstar. Keemstar didn't do it, but people like Keemstar are, and I think Keemstar's to blame for an entire goddamn generation of morons. I genuinely think so. Now, one side note too, the Toronto police apparently knew about the swatting incident prior and just straight up didn't tell the London police. So, by the way, fuck you, Toronto police. What the fuck are you doing? You should be talking to us, talking to London, you dumbasses. That actually makes me feel unsafe as a citizen of Ontario. So, side note, fuck you. Uh, so since then, Keffels has straight up moved to a different city or a different country. I believe she moved to Ireland or England or Great Britain rather. So my point is people like Keemstar are still able to thrive, and people like Keemstar are ruining people's lives, like Keffels. Keffels' life would honestly be a lot better, obviously, without Keemstar in it, and people like them. And then a couple of a couple of disses here at Keemstar at the end. Uh, there's a quote of him literally saying, "I like kids. I like them young," or whatever. Saying, "I literally like them with braces still on." So, and not only that, he's obsessed with calling people pedophiles all the time. You know what? You know what actually happens a lot of the time, and has happened many times with people that accuse everyone being a pedophile. Guess what? They are a fucking pedophile, and I think Keemstar is. I don't give a fuck. He's a sociopath and he's a pedophile. I'm making that claim. Fuck you. I don't care. You probably are. You literally probably are.
You're so mad. You're legitimately angry.
Yeah, I am, dude.
We just crack jokes and
Yeah, totally.
dude,
Just
it's
jokes, bro.
just
Just jokes. This is that. So that little rant at the end about violence in, or just violence online and harassment online brings me to the last subject, which is me just discussing the reason that I have deactivated my Twitter account and the increasing normalization of violence and threats of violence online. So, for context, the reason this that so for context, the reason that this started and the reason that I am talking about the normalization of violence and threats of violence on the internet, especially Twitter, like especially Twitter, because let's be real, since it's been taken over by Big Money Boy, there's basically no rules. Like, unless of course you say the word cracker. Wow. Woo! I said it. Anyways, you can get banned for that on Twitter, but not for saying the N word, by the way. Uh, Side note, I don't know, kind of. If you ask me, Elon Musk. But anyways, so I actually was just scrolling through Twitter. I have a Twitter account that's usually just based around NASCAR and motorsports. I know you're probably already rolling your eyes, but bear with me here. I there was this guy that was I saw him like having an absolute mental breakdown. He's a Chase Elliott fan, by the way, having an absolute mental breakdown over the fact that NASCAR Heat 5 is a crappy game, which it is. It freaking sucks from what I understand. I've never tried it, but I won't because I know it's terrible. But that's not the point. He was having an absolute meltdown, like all kinds of tweets saying all kinds of crap, like this game's fucking me up, like I fucking hate this game. And then literally there's like dozens of people telling him, why don't you just like, not play the game? And then one of the people that, or yeah, a bunch of people were saying that. And then eventually he quote tweeted his own original tweet about how the game was terrible. And then said like something like, man, I can't wait. Oh yeah. what? Oh yeah. He literally said, like, I'm so sick of this game. I hope the entire motorsport games building blows up. Like, what the fuck? And basically implying he hopes the entire building where innocent people are in blows up and everybody dies because he doesn't like a fucking video game. Again, a video game he could just simply choose not to play. Like, goddamn, bro.
Get off Twitter and go outside.
Go outside! Touch grass! Goddamn, dude. Get off Twitter. Seriously. Like, shit. And so what I did is just simply report the tweet because, in my opinion, that's threatening violence because it is. Took a week for me to get any information about it back, and then it was about a week later, I got a notification saying we have an update on the report you made, and it said that they actually did permanently suspend that man, the Chase Elliott fan, for making that threat towards blowing up the entire building. They banned him for that, which honestly, props to Twitter for that, even though it took a full week, but whatever. They still did it. Props to Twitter for that. But this is where the issue starts. So I can't even do this without laughing. It's so dumb, man. Like, literally, like, I was just, after that, the very first, or I went to scroll over to regular Twitter just to scroll through, and one of the first tweets I saw was someone, like, screenshotting of messages between them and that Chase Elliott fan. Let's just call him Chase then. The guy who got banned's name is now Chase. So Chase was messaging their other friend, Billy, and Billy showed the screenshots on Twitter of how Steve was like, I can't believe I was banned. What the fuck, man? Twitter's so broken. So fucking stupid. I didn't even do anything. What the fuck? Oh my god. What the fuck, man? And then, like, probably, they weren't even the only one, too. There was, like, quote sheets all over it being like, oh my god, Twitter banned my friend for no reason. No reason. And then I made the mistake. I commented on that original post that Billy person posted of the screenshot of their conversation. I made a post saying, showing the screenshot of, like, for context, by the way, he didn't get banned for no reason. He got banned for this, showing the threat of blowing up the entire building. Again, I know that could be not serious, but how the fuck is Motorsport Games supposed to know that? They don't know Chase. They don't fucking know. So, yeah, so I sent that screenshot in, and immediately I'm in a group chat with, like, about 30 other people who are NASCAR and wrestling fans. Immediately, as soon as I sent that reply, someone tagged me in that group chat saying, I'm overreacting. I'm overreacting by getting that man banned for doing a bannable offense. He literally did a bannable offense. What's bannable if that's not? What the fuck? Literally. What? What else is bannable? Literally. Like, what else is bannable, dude? That's a bannable offense. And then not only that, most of the group chat I'm in proceeded to berate me about it, like getting mad about it, literally saying, like, dude, like, oh yeah, one of the things the guy said is like, dude, people do this all the time, dude. It's not a big deal. Yeah, that's the fucking problem. So this is a prime example. That guy thinks it's normal to just threaten people's lives online because you can't see them. Funny thing is, I can guarantee you no one would directly come up to Motorsport Games and walk into their office and say that to their face, because let's be real, once you get that anonymity, once you're anonymous, I can't even say that word right now. Once you're anonymous, people will just say whatever the fuck. So not only did that guy say that it's fine, at least 4 or 5 other people said I'm in the wrong and I'm an asshole for getting that person banned in the group chat. So as soon as I realized that reaction, I just dipped off of Twitter for an entire week because I was like, oh god, this is going to cause an uproar, isn't it? And guess what? It did. I came back a week later. I'm not exaggerating. I had over 100 notifications, 69 quote tweets where 90% of them were just absolutely, like, ravaging me apart because I got someone banned for threatening violence. Literally shit from, like, it's so funny. Like, literally people online who have the audacity to claim that I have no life or no friends because they're upset that their friend is banned from a social media website. They're having a meltdown over their friend being banned on social media, and they're telling me that I have the problem. Really? Literally. They're telling me that I am in the wrong and that I have no friends. The irony of that. It's so stupid. Because you know what I do when bad things happen on Twitter? I take a break for a week like I did. I just assume most people do that. But it turns out that 90% of people on Twitter are severely addicted and are in denial about it. So, not only did people play the straw man fallacy on that, there was a bunch of quotes of people being like, wow, so you got him banned because he was mad about a video game? You got him banned because he's mad about a video game? No, I didn't, bro. I got him banned because he threatened to blow something up. And then, even then, there's people on there saying literally that the people deserve it because they made a bad game. Like, what the fuck? So this, in my opinion, this is just a prime example. And oh yeah, and then the guy has the audacity also to act like the victim, literally like crying probably. I don't fucking know. And oh my god, but this all convinced me to just deactivate my Twitter account because people I'm literally like friends with and talk to and respect on Twitter think that it's okay to do this because the video game's bad. I'm not kidding. They think it's okay. So I guess I've decided to close my Twitter account because I don't want to be a part of that toxicity. I don't want to be a part of that complete disaster where violence is okay online. I hate that. And to go back to the subject of Keemstar and Keffels, I think things like swatting people like Keffels in my hometown of London, Ontario is not only concerning as fuck as someone who lives here, but also concerning as fuck as someone who's on the internet. Because that's just another example of how violence on the internet or committing violence against people if you don't like them on the internet is okay to at least half the population, I swear to God. Because their reaction to seeing stuff like Keffels, I don't like your opinion on politics. You deserve to fucking die. Like, what the fuck? And that's normal. With people like Keemstar, too. He literally talks about, hoping people die of cancer, hoping they get killed, hoping something terrible happens to their mother. Fans of Keemstar are the same freaking people that then start to talk about how it's like okay to make violence. And then when those people start talking about it, it then makes other younger people who are maybe under 18 grow up straight up thinking that it is okay to be that violent online. Because young impressionable people, unfortunately, straight up grow up almost entirely on the internet now, to the point of it being, they grow up on the internet almost entirely now. So they're gonna like actually truly think that it is okay to threaten violence. I think this is headed down a dangerous path personally. I think it just starts with death threats and stuff like that. I think that's just where it ends, because that's just where it starts. Because not only do people like act like you're a fucking pussy because you don't like to be threatened online, even people I respect literally say that. Like they act like you aren't tough if you can't handle death threats online. And I don't think that's okay at all. Cuz think about it. Before the internet, when was there just a regular thing of death threats? That's so fucked, dude. Like that is so fucked that people think it's okay to just do that online. Like goddamn.
You're so mad.
Oh,
You're
yeah!
legitimately angry. We just crack jokes and dude, it's just you got
Literally though, I am fucking mad. It's actually making me lose my train of thought because again, like I said earlier, that in the earlier subject, Keffels had to move countries because my country is fucking terrible. My city specifically is terrible at doing stuff like this because they can't keep up. The people who are in charge of the police didn't grow up with the internet. So I don't even freaking blame them half the time, even though I do at the same time. They can't keep up. I think it's headed down a dangerous path where I straight up think people are going to start getting killed regularly. I know this sounds like an alarmist thing to say, but I think it just starts with swatting and stuff like that. I think people are going to fucking start going to each other's houses and killing each other. You know what? That's already started. People are starting to literally kill each other over Fortnite and stuff like that. That didn't happen before. I think the normalization of violence and the fact that at least 80% of Twitter thinks it's okay is going to lead to people straight up being killed. Like that guy, for example, when he says, I'm going to blow up that entire building, people take it as a joke. Yo, what if some fucking impressionable kid was scrolling through that? Maybe he's 15 years old. He sees that, thinks it's actually goddamn serious, and then starts making a plan to blow up motorsport games. It's happened before. It's literally happened before. I'm spitting now. I'm literally spitting all over my laptop. It is literally happening before. And I think it'll happen again. I think kids are going to start being hurt. I don't want to see it. It actually makes me physically upset. Like swatting is just the beginning, man. It's just the beginning. People are going to start being killed if we don't start doing things about it. I think the people in charge need to start actually passing laws and teaching people it's not okay to do violence, but yet we're sitting here just making it okay. I don't want to go too much on this subject. I don't want to like ramble on too much here. I wasn't even wanting to get too mad during this podcast, but the more I started to think about it, the more it made me mad. Because of the fact that I had to shut down my Twitter account. So one last thing is I say is I think no one should go on Twitter anymore. I think you should get off Twitter. If you have any, especially if you have any form of mental health problem, get the fuck off Twitter because I have bad anxiety issues. And the days that I spent on Twitter, I would just get into arguments with people online, calling them fucking assholes, idiots. They didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve it at all. I think it's just out how toxic Twitter has become. Uh, and I, unfortunately, was starting to become a part of that toxicity, is what I'm trying to say. No one is perfect, and anyone, including myself, can be a victim of that toxicity that Twitter has become. And it's only getting worse with Elon Musk as the leader. I think the toxicity is doomed. Overall, though, my entire point of this podcast is that everyone just needs to be fucking nicer to each other online. When I was a kid, growing up around 13 or 14, people still treated the internet as if you were talking to someone in person. They don't do that anymore. They treat it like you'll never see that person. So, in my humble opinion, we need to start teaching people and kids to straight up start treating the internet like you're inside the same room, like you're talking to someone in person, face to face. And people will start being way nicer and everything will be way less toxic. I guarantee you. That's not even a theory. This is a fact. Easier said than done, though, because people are severely addicted. I mean, look at me. The only way I started quitting Twitter is because I started getting harassed about shit online. So I was an addict too. I think I've kicked it. Anyways, before we get going, I just want to end on a positive note here. What I'd like to do is at the end of every podcast, we're gonna have a album of the week or of the podcast. So my album of the week slash podcast is Scaring the Hose by Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia. I know for a lot of people that just sounds like a meme album, but it's more than just that. Not only is JPEG Mafia one of the best producers in the hip hop industry, he makes some crazy beats that blow my mind all the time. On top of that, you have Danny Brown's bombastic style of rapping, many different styles all over the record itself. So you get those two together, and they made, in my opinion, the best album that's come out in 2023 and the best hip hop album that's come out in the last probably 3 or 4 years. The reason I like it is the sound is like the beats and stuff. The experimental sound on the beats is mind blowing to me. On most of the songs, there's a couple of duds in there, but uh, it's got a lot of what I like to, or what I've heard other people call earworms in there. And I honestly highly recommend it to anybody who likes hip hop music and anyone who might not even really like hip hop music. I think it kind of breaks the barrier in that way. I think it's one of the most forward thinking hip hop albums of the last 10 years, in fact. But my favorite songs, I'd say, or my favorite song is literally the song called Scaring the Hose. That song is actually one of my favorite rap songs ever made. So if you like hip hop music, I recommend that album like crazy. Almost 10 out of 10 if it didn't have a couple of duds there. But hopefully my podcast didn't turn y'all off too much with how emotional I got towards the end there. But it's how I truly feel. But thank you for coming. Thanks for being a part of Snitch Racer's dungeon today. And hope everybody has a great day. I'll see y'all later. Why do I really want to fuck everyone's asshole? Really? Like, really, dude? Really? Does this sound better?
Let's get right into the news.